Captain Eliza Reeves stood at the viewport of the Pathfinder, Earth's first interstellar diplomatic vessel, watching the crystalline behemoth of the Doraxian flagship glitter against the backdrop of an unfamiliar star system. 15 years of military service hadn't prepared her for this, humanity's first contact with an advanced alien civilization. Her reflection in the viewport showed a face trying desperately to project confidence. Sharp gray eyes, hair cropped military short, and the slight scar across her left cheek from the Nigerian Resource War. "Ready, Captain?" "Executive Officer," Lynn asked, adjusting his formal uniform collar. Reeves nodded curtly. "As ready as anyone can be to meet the neighbors after 400 years of thinking we were alone." The diplomatic team assembled in the transfer bay, 6 humans representing Earth's United Nations, scientists, and military. Dr. Sanjay Mehta, their xenobiologist, couldn't stop fidgeting with excitement. "Remember," Reeves addressed them, "we're here to establish peaceful relations, but intelligence suggests the Doraxians respect strength above all. Show no weakness." The shuttle ride to the Doraxian flagship passed in tense silence. Through the viewport, Reeves studied what appeared to be weapon emplacements, massive crystalline structures that hummed with energy, even her untrained eye recognized as devastating. The Doraxian reception hall dwarfed anything on Earth, a cathedral-like space with soaring ceilings of translucent crystal that refracted light in hypnotic patterns. And there they stood, the Doraxians themselves. 9-foot-tall humanoids with exoskeletons of living crystal, faceted eyes that shifted color with their moods, and movements so fluid they seemed almost liquid despite their solid forms. Commander Veshitar, their leader, approached with a sound like chiming glass. His crystal body pulsed with internal light that Reeves immediately recognized as a display of status. "Welcome, humans." His words came through their translators with an unsettling, resonant quality. "How gracious of you to finally join the galactic community. We've been watching your species' painful crawl toward the stars with amusement." Reeves stepped forward, offering the formal greeting prepared by Earth's diplomatic corps. "Commander Veshitar, on behalf of Earth and humanity, we extend—" Yes, Veshitar interrupted, his crystalline form flashing dismissively. "Formalities. Primitive species do love their rituals." He gestured to an aide. "Shall we dispense with the tedium and proceed to the demonstration?" Before Reeves could respond, the vast wall behind Veshitar transformed into a view screen. It displayed a small asteroid floating in space. "Observe," Veshitar said, pressing a crystalline appendage to a control surface. A beam of coherent energy lanced from a nearby Doraxian vessel, striking the asteroid. In seconds, the rock disintegrated into superheated plasma. "Impressive," Reeves said carefully, maintaining her diplomatic composure. "Now," Veshitar continued, his tone dripping with condescension, "let's examine your capabilities." Without warning, a scanning beam swept over the human delegation. Reeves tensed, her hand instinctively moving toward her ceremonial sidearm before she caught herself. The view screen changed to display a schematic of the Pathfinder, including its weapons systems. "How quaint," Veshitar's voice echoed through the chamber as laughter like breaking glass erupted from the assembled Doraxians. "You still use chemical propellants? Physical projectiles?" His crystalline face couldn't form human expressions, but his contempt needed no translation. One of Reeves's junior officers flushed with humiliation. Dr. Mehta looked at the floor. Only Lynn maintained his composure, mirroring Reeves's forced diplomatic smile. Veshitar approached Reeves directly, looming over her. From a compartment in the wall, he withdrew an object that Reeves recognized with a start. A human-made pistol, centuries old. "For my collection," Veshitar explained, his faceted eyes shifting to a deep blue. "I maintain a museum of conquered civilizations' weapons. Soon, I'll add your Pathfinder to it." The diplomatic team stiffened. Reeves felt white-hot fury rising in her chest but maintained her smile. Behind it, her mind raced to the classified cargo in the Pathfinder's shielded old prototypes that Earth's Defense Council had ordered kept hidden at all costs. "We look forward to further cultural exchanges, Commander," she said smoothly, while her eyes conveyed a very different message. Veshitar's crystalline form shimmered, the Doraxian equivalent of laughter. "Indeed, Captain. I'm certain we have much to teach your developing species." As the reception continued, Reeves made a silent vow. The next meeting would end very differently. The Pathfinder limped into Earth orbit 3 weeks after first contact, its systems still recovering from the intensive Doraxian scans that had penetrated deeper than anyone anticipated. Captain Reeves hadn't slept properly since their return, the memory of Veshitar's mockery burning like acid in her thoughts. She was reviewing damage reports when it happened, every screen on the ship, throughout Earth's orbital stations, and, reportedly on the planet's surface, simultaneously flickered and transformed. Veshitar's crystalline visage filled every display. "People of Earth," his resonant voice echoed globally. "Your species has been evaluated and found inadequate for independent status. You are hereby offered the opportunity to join the Doraxian Empire as a protected vassal state. Your resources and labor will be requisitioned at rates deemed appropriate by Imperial assessment. Resistance is unnecessary and will result in planetary sterilization." The message ended with a countdown. 30 days. Global panic erupted as leaked footage of the Doraxian weapons demonstration spread across the net. The United Defense Council convened an emergency session, which Reeves attended virtually from the Pathfinder's quarantined orbit. "Their energy weapons can reduce our cities to ash," Admiral Santos said, her weathered face grim on the conference display. "Their shields repel everything in our arsenal." "What about the classified cargo?" asked a Chinese representative. Reeves shook her head. "The prototypes are promising but untested in combat, and we have 12. They have hundreds of ships." And the council debated increasingly desperate diplomatic concessions. A commotion erupted at the chamber doors. Security footage showed a disheveled man in his 50s being restrained by guards. "You need to hear this," the man shouted. "I know how to fight them." Something in his desperate conviction made Admiral Santos pause. "Let him speak." Dr. Marcus Chen, as he introduced himself, was a military historian specializing in obsolete weapons technology, a field that had earned him ridicule from mainstream academia. His rumpled appearance and wild gray-streaked hair completed the image of an eccentric academic. "Their shields," Chen began without preamble, projecting centuries-old schematics onto the council's display, "are calibrated against energy weapons, correct?" Nods around the table. "But when was the last time they faced hot metal traveling at hypersonic speeds?" Skeptical murmurs filled the chamber until Chen continued. "For 20 years I've been recreating and modernizing ancient ballistic weapons. My specialty? The Gatling gun." He displayed holographic blueprints of a multi-barreled weapon. "This isn't your history book, Gatling. I've incorporated modern materials, carbon nanotubes, hyperdense tungsten carbide alloys, advanced propellants." "Toys," scoffed the Russian counselor. "Against their technology?" Chen's eyes flashed. "I smuggled these specs to a colleague who obtained Doraxian material samples through backchannels." He projected a video showing a modern Gatling prototype firing at a crystalline fragment. The material, identical to Doraxian exoskeletons, shattered spectacularly. Silence fell across the council chamber. Admiral Santos leaned forward. "Dr. Chen, what resources would you need to weaponize this on a global scale?" "Everything you've got," Chen answered bluntly. "And maybe that'll be enough." As the council erupted into frantic planning, Reeves requested a private channel with Chen. "Doctor," she said, her first genuine smile in weeks forming, "I believe we have mutual interests. The Pathfinder is carrying classified cargo you should, see? Ever heard of Project Throwback?" Chen's eyes widened with recognition. "The Military History Application Initiative? I submitted proposals 3 years ago but was rejected as too fixated on obsolete technology." "Not rejected," Reeves corrected. "Classified. And now we have 29 days to save humanity with the weapons everyone else forgot." 23 days before the Doraxian deadline, Earth had transformed into a global war factory. Every major manufacturing center operated at maximum capacity, retooling production lines to create components for Dr. Chen's modernized Gatling systems. The United Defense Council had designated the initiative Operation Throwback, with Captain Reeves and Dr. Chen leading the frantic effort. Inside a converted aircraft hangar at the Johannesburg Alliance military complex, Reeves watched Chen interact with the classified prototypes from the Pathfinder's cargo hold, 12 next-generation Gatling platforms with rotating barrels nearly 2 meters long. "Magnificent," Chen whispered, running his hand along the carbon nanotube barrel assembly. "My designs were theoretical. You actually built them." "A small skunkworks team," Reeves explained. "Military historians, engineers, and materials scientists who shared your vision. But we need hundreds more to have any chance against the Doraxian fleet." Progress reports from global manufacturing centers streamed to their tablets. Tungsten carbide ammunition production in Seoul, barrel assemblies in Brazil, firing mechanisms in Detroit. But as Reeves reviewed the numbers, her brow furrowed. "These production figures are off," she muttered. "Mumbai was at 68% efficiency yesterday. Now they're reporting 41%. Singapore's down 23%. What's happening?" Chen looked up from his calibration work. "Could be supply chain issues? Simultaneously across multiple continents?" Reeves shook her head. "Something's wrong." That evening, deep in the complex's secure storage facility, Reeves caught a glimpse of movement among the tungsten alloy shipments. Drawing her sidearm, she followed silently until she spotted a figure uploading data from the inventory terminals. "Don't move," she ordered, weapon raised. The figure turned slowly, revealing Defense Minister Yamamoto, the council member overseeing resource allocation. "Captain Reeves, working late, I see. Explain why you're accessing restricted inventory data, outside of protocols." Yamamoto's expression remained neutral. "Insurance. Operation Throwback is a desperate gamble that will fail. I'm ensuring some of humanity survives." Realization dawned. "You're diverting resources, sabotaging production." "I prefer reallocating," he replied. "To evacuation ships for Earth's best and brightest. When the Doraxians come, they'll find token resistance and a depleted planet, not worth sterilizing. The evacuees will preserve our species. While billions die, that's treason." "It's pragmatism," Yamamoto countered. "Better some humans survive as slaves than none survive at all." Reeves lunged forward, but Yamamoto was prepared. The struggle was brief but violent. An alarm blared. As security personnel flooded in, finding Reeves standing over the unconscious minister, blood trickling from her split lip. Within hours, Reeves faced a hastily convened military tribunal. Despite her explanation, the evidence seemed damning. Unauthorized access to restricted areas, assaulting a council member. "Captain Reeves is hereby relieved of command pending full investigation," announced Admiral Santos grimly. "She will remain confined to quarters." But in her quarters that night, Reeves received an unexpected visitor, Executive Officer Lin, accompanied by Dr. Chen. "Minister Yamamoto's private communications have been decrypted," Lin whispered. "You were right. He's orchestrating systematic sabotage and planning to transmit Earth's defensive details to the Doraxians. We have loyalists throughout the command structure," Chen added, "but we need you." Reeves didn't hesitate. "What's the plan?" "A counter-coup," Lin replied. "But we need to move tonight. Yamamoto's faction is preparing to broadcast surrender. Coordinates to the approaching Doraxian scout vessels." As they slipped through the darkened complex, alarms suddenly blared. On every screen, a partial data packet flashed. Technical specifications of Earth's defensive preparations transmitting to deep space. "We're too late," Chen gasped. Reeves broke into a run. "No, that's only the preamble data. We can still stop the main transmission. Move." 18 days before the deadline, Earth's meager defense fleet, 12 ships hastily retrofitted with the prototype Gatling systems, took position in Jupiter's orbit. The Pathfinder, now designated as fleet flagship, despite its diplomatic design, held position at the vanguard. On the bridge, Captain Reeves studied the tactical display. Her reinstatement had been controversial, but with Yamamoto and his co-conspirators in custody, and the transmission to the Doraxians mostly contained, the Defense Council had few options. Admiral Santos had been blunt. "You started this mess, Reeves. Now finish it." Dr. Chen, serving as tactical advisor despite his lack of military rank, fidgeted beside her. Long-range sensors are detecting crystalline signatures approaching from the Kuiper Belt. Doraxian scout vessels, most likely. "How many?" Reeves asked. 5. Standard forward reconnaissance pattern. The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances. Even scouts would outclass their retrofitted ships. "Standard protocol would be to fire warning shots," Executive Officer Lin noted. "Show them our conventional weapons are ineffective, then reveal our new capabilities." Reeves shook her head. "That gives away our advantage." She stood, addressing the fleet through the command channel. "All vessels, initiate blackout protocols. Power down to minimal life support, passive sensors only." Chen looked alarmed. "Captain, they'll still detect our mass. Not if we position ourselves within Jupiter's radiation belt. The interference will mask our signatures." She turned to her navigator. "Move us into the shadow of Callisto. All ships to maintain absolute silence." For 6 agonizing hours, the fleet drifted in formation, systems powered down to near freezing temperatures. On the Pathfinder's bridge, crew members huddled in thermal blankets, breath visible in the dim emergency lighting. "Doraxian squadron is altering course," the sensor officer whispered. "They're scanning the radiation belt. They're confused." Reeves nodded. "They can't find us. Their sensors are calibrated for active energy signatures, not cold ships playing dead." "They're moving closer," Chen reported, eyes fixed on his tablet's passive scanner. "Entering optimal Gatling range in 3 minutes. All ships prepare for simultaneous power-up on my mark," Reeves ordered. "Target the lead vessel first, concentrate fire." As the crystalline ships drifted into position, their elegant forms glittering in Jupiter's reflected light, Reeves counted down silently. When the lead scout passed directly overhead, she gave the command. "Mark!" The Pathfinder surged to life, weapon systems powering up as the Gatling array rotated to target acquisition. Before the Doraxian vessels could react, the human fleet opened fire simultaneously. A devastating broadside of hypersonic tungsten rounds. The lead scout's shields flared brilliantly as they attempted to repel the onslaught. But the physical projectiles tore through the energy barrier like it wasn't there. The crystalline hull shattered, fragments spinning away in Jupiter's weak gravity. "Direct hit," Chen exulted. "Their shields are completely ineffective against kinetic weapons." The remaining scouts frantically raised emergency barriers, but their shield configurations, optimized for energy weapon deflection, proved useless against the Gatling barrage. 2 more vessels shattered before the survivors could return fire. Their energy beams lanced out, catching one of Earth's smaller vessels. It exploded spectacularly, the crew lost in seconds. "Evasive maneuvers," Reeves ordered. "Maintain fire discipline." A damaged Doraxian shuttle, separated from its mothership, spiraled toward Jupiter's moon Europa. Reeves made a split-second decision. "Lin, you have the bridge. Dr. Chen, with me. I want prisoners and intelligence." 20 minutes later, Reeves led a boarding team through the crashed shuttle's ruptured hull, environment suits protecting them from Europa's hostile surface. Inside, they found a single survivor, a Doraxian officer whose crystalline form pulsed weakly with internal light. "Captain," the translation software rendered the alien's vibrations, "I am Subcommander Kirnax, offspring of Commander Veshtar. I offer technical intelligence on the main fleet in exchange for asylum." Reeves's eyes narrowed with suspicion. "Why would you betray your own kind?" The crystalline being's colors shifted to a deep purple. "Because my failure in this skirmish means execution upon return, and because, unlike my father, I recognize adaptation as strength, not weakness." On the Doraxian command vessel, Crystalline Dominance, Commander Veshtar faced a crisis unprecedented in his 3-century military career. The holographic display before him replayed the destruction of his scout squadron. Their shields penetrated, by primitive projectile weapons in a humiliating ambush. Impossible, he muttered, his crystalline form pulsing with angry red light. Worse than the tactical failure was the personal disgrace. His offspring's shuttle was missing, presumed destroyed or captured. The Imperial War Council materialized, around him in holographic form, their towering crystalline bodies shimmering with barely contained fury. "Explain this failure," demanded Supreme Counselor Zex Tur, the Emperor's voice. Veshatar straightened. The humans employed unexpected tactics. Their weapons, projectiles, interrupted a military counselor. "You were defeated by metal slugs?" "Our shields are calibrated for energy dissipation," Veshtar explained. "The humans exploited a theoretical vulnerability we've ignored for millennia. I recommend delaying the invasion to recalibrate our defenses." The Emperor's hologram leaned forward, faceted eyes flashing dangerously. "Delay is weakness. The ultimatum stands. Crush these primitives immediately." As the council dissolved, Veshatar summoned his science officer. "Begin shield recalibration and locate my offspring's transponder signal." Meanwhile, aboard the Pathfinder, Kirnax underwent intensive interrogation within a containment field calibrated to hold his crystalline form. Dr. Chen observed with fascination while Captain Reeves maintained professional detachment. "Their fleet consists of 217 vessels," Kirnax explained, his translated voice eerily melodic. "The invasion force will arrive in 14 standard days." "Why should we trust you?" Reeves demanded. Kirnax's form shimmered. "The Doraxian, equivalent of a psi. Because I've studied your species for decades. Humans adapt, Doraxians perfect. For 10,000 years we've considered physical projectile weapons obsolete. My research suggested otherwise, but the Imperial military rejected my findings." "You knew about our vulnerability to kinetic weapons?" Chen asked incredulously. "I theorized it. Now I've confirmed it." Kirnax's color shifted to deep blue. "But there's more you should know. Our crystalline biology makes us hypersensitive to percussion and vibration. Direct projectile impacts don't just breach our ships, they create harmonics that shatter our very bodies." Chen's eyes widened with realization, like an opera singer shattering a crystal glass with the right frequency. "Precisely, which is why my father will adopt a new strategy. Long-range energy bombardment from beyond your weapon's reach." Reeves exchanged glances with Chen. "We need a way to force them into close engagement." Chen was already sketching on his tablet. "What if we modified our ammunition to create specific vibrational frequencies on impact? Fragmenting rounds designed to shatter upon shield contact, creating harmonic resonance." "It could work," Kirnax confirmed. "But you'd need to lure the fleet into a confined area to maximize the effect." Reeves studied the tactical display showing Earth's inner solar system. "Luna," she said finally. "We use Earth's moon as bait. Place our largest Gatling array on the lunar surface, powerful enough to reach beyond standard range." "A suicide mission," Lin observed from nearby. "The operation would require a skeleton crew to remain on Luna while the fleet engages elsewhere." "I'll lead it," Reeves decided. "No," countered Chen. "You're needed with the fleet. I'll go." Before the argument could continue, Kirnax spoke. "I should be part of the lunar team." The room fell silent as all eyes turned to the alien defector. "My species believes adapting to lesser technologies is beneath us," Kirnax explained, crystalline form glowing softly. "I intend to evolve." Later that night, as preparations for the lunar mission accelerated, Reeves received an encrypted data packet from Earth intelligence. Scanning the contents, her blood chilled. Doraxian communication protocols discovered in Kirnax's containment cell, inactive but present. She immediately ordered a security team to the cell, only to find Kirnax in apparent meditation. "Is something wrong, Captain?" the defector asked innocently. Reeves studied the alien's faceted eyes, searching for deception. "Communications with the lunar team were just cut off," she lied, watching for a reaction. Kirnax showed no response except confusion. Outside in the corridor, Lin whispered, "Captain, Long-range sensors show the Doraxian fleet has suddenly accelerated. They'll reach Luna in 12 hours, much sooner than predicted. Reeves glanced back at the containment cell. Ally or infiltrator? The fate of humanity might depend on which was true. The Doraxian armada emerged from faster-than-light travel, in perfect crystalline formation. Hundreds of vessels arranged in concentric rings around Veshitar's massive flagship. Against the stark lunar landscape below, they glittered like a constellation of predatory stars. On Luna's mare Tranquillitatis, within a hastily constructed bunker, Dr. Chen supervised final adjustments to the massive Gatling array, 6 20-meter barrels synchronized to fire in devastating sequence. Nearby, Kernax worked with uncanny precision to calibrate the targeting systems for maximum resonance effect against crystalline structures. Despite the evidence of communication protocols in the defector's cell, Captain Reeves had made the calculated risk to proceed with the plan. But she'd added insurance. The lunar team operated under constant surveillance, and the Pathfinder remained hidden in lunar orbit, ready to intervene. Doraxian fleet has established high orbit, reported the communications officer. They're scanning the surface. Chen glanced nervously at Kernax. Why haven't they fired yet? Standard procedure, the defector explained, crystalline hands moving fluidly across the alien-modified interface. My father is methodical. He'll attempt to locate all defensive positions before engaging. About that, Chen said carefully. Our communications with Earth fleet were briefly scrambled earlier. Any idea why? Kernax paused. My father's forces would be monitoring standard frequencies. We should switch to something unconventional. The defector adjusted settings on the communications array. There, Earth's primitive radio waves. My species considers them too obsolete to monitor. The harsh voice of Commander Veshitar suddenly boomed through the lunar base's speakers, a system-wide broadcast. People of Earth, your pathetic ambush has merely delayed the inevitable. I offer one final opportunity for survival. Surrender now, and some of your species will be preserved as laborers. Resistance means extinction. You have 1 hour to respond. The lunar team exchanged grim looks. The battle plan relied on precise timing. The lunar Gatling array needed to fire simultaneously with Earth's remaining fleet to create a crossfire of fragmenting projectiles. If either struck too early, the Doraxians would adapt before the trap could be sprung. As the deadline approached, tension in the bunker reached breaking point. Then, unexpectedly, Kernax approached the communications. Terminal. What are you doing? Chen demanded, hand moving toward the emergency override. Trust me, Kernax replied, establishing a direct channel to the Doraxian flagship. Reeves, watching from the Pathfinder's bridge, leapt to her feet. Stop the transmission. But it was too late. Kernax's image projected to the Doraxian fleet and to Earth's defenders simultaneously. Father, the defector began formally, faceted eyes glittering. I speak to the entire fleet. Veshitar's crystalline form pulsed with rage. Traitor, your execution will be... Tell them about the shield modifications, Kernax interrupted. Tell them how you secretly developed countermeasures against projectile weapons 3 years ago, after my research proved our vulnerability. Stunned silence fell across both human and Doraxian communications. Tell them how you concealed this adaptation to primitives, because such an admission would cost you status. Kernax's form glowed with intensity. Tell them how your pride has left our fleet vulnerable. On the Doraxian flagship's bridge, officers turned to their commander in shock and confusion. The perfect formation began to waver as ships demanded verification. Reeves instantly recognized the opportunity created by this moment of disarray. All ships, fire! She commanded. The lunar array erupted, its massive barrels unleashing specialized fragmenting rounds while Earth's fleet emerged from hiding positions around the moon. Caught in confusion, dozens of Doraxian vessels shattered. Under the barrage, their crystalline structures resonating catastrophically. But Veshitar's flagship, at the formation's center, remained intact, its shields shimmering with a different frequency than the others. He did modify his shields, Chen whispered in realization. The flagship's weapons powered up, targeting the lunar surface. The last thing Chen saw before the bunker's emergency shields activated was Kernax's crystalline form glowing with an emotion he couldn't identify, triumph or regret impossible to tell. The lunar surface erupted as Veshitar's flagship unleashed its full arsenal. The bunker housing the Gatling array collapsed in a spectacular plume of regolith and vapor. Throughout Earth's fleet, stunned silence fell as sensor readings confirmed the worst: total destruction of the lunar installation. Aboard the Pathfinder, now the last operational command vessel, Captain Reeves gripped the tactical console as damage reports flooded in. Half of Earth's small fleet had been destroyed in the initial exchange. The remaining ships were heavily damaged but operational, each still carrying their precious Gatling weapons. Status of the Doraxian fleet? She demanded. 38% destroyed or disabled, reported the tactical officer. But they're regrouping quickly. Veshitar's flagship is undamaged and appears to be coordinating a new attack formation. Reeves made a swift calculation. All vessels, emergency retreat to Earth orbit. We need to regroup. As the battered human fleet limped back toward their home planet, Reeves retreated to the medical bay where Dr. Chen lay unconscious on a gurney. He had been extracted from the lunar surface minutes before the bombardment, critically injured during a secondary explosion. Will he survive? Reeves asked the medical officer. Unknown, Captain. His injuries are severe. In the adjacent isolation chamber, Kernax floated in a containment field. The defector's crystalline form dulled and fractured in multiple places. The medical scanner struggled to interpret the alien physiology, but even to untrained eyes the prognosis looked grim. Captain, Executive Officer Lin called from the doorway. The Defense Council is requesting emergency conference. The holographic meeting revealed Earth's desperate situation. Orbital defenses were at minimal capacity. The Doraxian fleet, though reduced, still outnumbered and outgunned the remaining human forces. Worst of all, long-range sensors had detected a new threat. Veshitar's flagship had deployed massive energy drills already beginning to penetrate Earth's upper atmosphere. Analysis suggests they're targeting fault lines, reported Admiral Santos grimly. They intend to trigger catastrophic tectonic activity. How long? Asked Reeves. Hours, not days. Back in the medical bay, Chen had regained consciousness. Despite his injuries, the scientist was already reviewing data from the battle. The fragmenting rounds worked, he insisted weakly. But Veshitar's modified shields adapted too quickly. Reeves nodded. We need something they can't adapt to. Chen's eyes lit with the familiar intensity of inspiration. What if, instead of trying to penetrate their shields, we create ammunition calibrated to generate specific vibrational frequencies that directly attack their crystalline structure? Like acoustic weapons? Reeves asked. Precisely. Based on Kernax's physiology, we could create rounds that don't need to physically impact them. Just get close enough to generate the right frequency. The ethical implications hit Reeves immediately. That's not a weapon against ships, Chen. That's a weapon against their species. I know. Chen's voice was hollow. It's genocide. The moral debate spread quickly through the command crew. Some officers refused to consider such measures. Others argued that humanity's survival justified any action. We need more data on their physiology, Chen said finally. Only Kernax can provide it. When they approached the isolation chamber, they found the defector conscious but barely functioning. Kernax's crystalline surface was clouded, internal light flickering weakly. I sensed your dilemma, the alien's translated voice whispered. You wish to build a weapon that targets our biological structure? We need to know if it's possible, Reeves said directly. It is. Kernax's colors shifted to a deep, mournful blue. And I will help you because my father has deployed the resonance cascades, weapons we swore never to use after they destroyed the Matraxian civilization. Sensor confirmation came seconds later. The energy drills were indeed generating controlled harmonic waves targeting Earth's tectonic plates. You understand what helping us means for your species? Reeves asked quietly. Kirnax's faceted eyes fixed on hers. I do. But there are many species in this galaxy, Captain. There is only one Earth. As engineers worked frantically to modify their remaining ammunition, Veshitar's flagship approached broadcasting range. The commander clearly intended to witness Earth's destruction personally, a final act of arrogance that might be humanity's only opportunity. The Pathfinder streaked through Earth's upper atmosphere, its hull glowing orange from the friction. Behind it, the remaining human vessels formed a ragged formation, the last line of defense for a planet already feeling the first tremors from Veshitar's tectonic attacks. On the bridge, Captain Reeves studied the tactical display where Veshitar's flagship loomed, a massive crystalline structure surrounded by its escort vessels. The Doraxian commander had positioned himself to witness Earth's destruction from a perfect vantage point, his arrogance providing the one opportunity Reeves had hoped for. All ships maintain formation, she ordered. Remember, we only get one shot at this. In the Pathfinder's engineering bay, Dr. Chen supervised the final calibrations to their modified Gatling ammunition, specialized rounds designed not to penetrate, but to vibrate at frequencies that would shatter crystalline structures on the molecular level. His hands trembled from exhaustion and injury as he verified the calculations. Beside him, strapped to a modified targeting console, Kirnax fought, through obvious pain. The defector's crystalline body had been patched with earth metals and polymers, a desperate measure to maintain functionality. The targeting solution must be precise, Kirnax explained, faceted fingers moving across the interface. My father's flagship has 7 critical nodes. Hit them in the correct sequence and the resonance will cascade through the entire vessel. And the crew? Chen asked quietly. Kirnax's colors dimmed. We'll shatter along with the ship. The intercom crackled with Reeves's voice. 2 minutes to engagement range. As the Pathfinder closed on the flagship, the unexpected happened. A direct communication request from Veshitar himself. Reeves accepted, and the commander's crystalline visage filled the main view screen. Captain Reeves. His translated voice vibrated with satisfaction. I wanted you to witness history. Your primitive weapons provided momentary amusement, but now you will observe true power. The first major fault line activation begins in 3 minutes. Your species' extinction will follow. Instead of responding, Reeves nodded to her communications officer, who switched the channel to all Doraxian vessels simultaneously. Commander Veshitar, she stated formally, we offer unconditional surrender. Veshitar's colors shifted in surprise, then triumphant gold. Wise, but too late. I will, however, allow you to witness. The transmission abruptly split screen as Kirnax's image appeared alongside Veshitar's. The defector's damaged form stood in stark contrast to the commander's pristine, crystalline perfection. Father, Kirnax interrupted, you taught me that adaptation is weakness. Today I adapted. I evolved. I learned that strength comes from change, not perfection. Veshitar's form pulsed with rage. Traitor, your name will be Fire, Reeves commanded. The Pathfinder's modified Gatling array unleashed its payload, not a barrage but 7 precisely aimed shots. The specialized rounds didn't explode on impact. Instead, they penetrated the flagship's shields and struck key structural points identified by Kirnax. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, almost imperceptibly, a vibration began to spread through the massive crystalline vessel. The vibration amplified, creating visible ripples across the hull. On the view screen, Veshitar's form began to fracture, tiny fissures spreading through his crystalline body as he realized what was happening. What have you... His transmission dissolved into static as the flagship began to disintegrate from within, breaking apart not in an explosion, but in a cascade of crystalline fragments that glittered like diamond dust against Earth's blue backdrop. The resonance effect spread to nearby Doraxian vessels, shattering several before the survivors frantically engaged emergency propulsion, retreating in disarray. On the Pathfinder's bridge, exhausted cheers erupted. Reeves turned to find Kirnax standing in the doorway supported by Dr. Chen. Your father? she asked gently. Was wrong, Kirnax replied, colors shifting to a calm blue. About many things. 3 months later, diplomatic shuttles arrived from the wider Doraxian Empire, not with weapons but with representatives empowered to negotiate peace. Earth joined the galactic community as an equal, bringing its unique perspective that sometimes the most effective innovation isn't creating something new, but remembering what others have forgotten. Dr. Chen established the Institute for Adaptive Military History, training a new generation to look backward for tomorrow's solutions. Captain Reeves became Earth's first ambassador to the stars, and Kirnax, the first of many Doraxian reformers, led efforts to reshape an ancient empire that had finally learned that perfection without adaptation is merely stagnation in disguise.